Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Real Revenue. I am your host, Brian Hansen, CEO, founder of Brian Hansen Consulting. And today we have a wonderful guest, special guest, Andrew Shoaff. Full disclosure, Andrew and I worked together in the past, so we have a little bit of a relationship to pull from here, but we've got new topics to cover. Andrew, longtime customer success leader, passionate about building teams, again, of which I was one of them. Andrew, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining.
Brian, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So for those tuning in today, what we're going to be talking about, of course, is some AI. Yet, most notably, like how AI attaches to customer success principles, attaches to revenue principles. And when Andrew and I were preparing for this show, the topic that really came to mind for him, which I don't want to put words in your mouth, Andrew, but was trust and human connection. And so we're going to talk mostly about that. So why don't you take us through? So as of right now, as a customer success leader, we're all being asked to do, I don't want to say more with less, but just more with new tools. And it's a really interesting time, I think, for us to be able to leverage these tools for the connection to customers. So high level, how are you thinking about when you're building your teams, when you're building their focus, when you're driving them towards action? What's your connection to AI and customers and people? How are you thinking about that?
Yeah. I think the good news in a lot of this is that the fundamental principles, I think, of what we do as really post-sale folks in technology hasn't really changed, right? Our jobs, yes, are to contribute to the sustainability of the company via gross and net revenue retention, right? And it's really kind of up to us to understand the landscape, or what are the tech stack and the things, what are the resources that we can use to drive to those results, right? None of that is fundamentally changed. And in all of that, we are being pushed to do kind of two things, I feel like. One, use the new technology that we have, generative AI, right, to improve our internal efficiency, right? So we can do more with less, or whatever you want to call that, right?
Yep.
And then still drive to that ultimate outcome. And the way I think about it the most, and the way I try to talk to our teams about it, it's incumbent upon all of us in all of the resources that we have to delight our customers, right? If we really come down to what we're doing, right? We're delighting our customers. We're trying to go beyond the basics of actually what was promised to them, the value that they bought into, and do more than that. And so the question is, how do we use all the tools at our disposal? Generative AI being one of them. How do we use those tools to delight our customers? Which is the same question we've been doing for a long time, right? There's nothing new on that.
Yeah.
Which is good, right? It's an and, not an or.
Yes.
But how do we take these tools and really think, how do I deepen trust? Okay. How do I do that with buyers? How do I do that with project managers? How do I do that with users? Trust and delight. And I think that is just as important as the how do I do my job more efficiently. Both of those things contribute to the overall success of your business.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, thinking about then. So yes, we've heard about delight a lot, dating back a decade probably in customer success. And we were always, I don't know if bound by is the right word, but usually it's the product. Like, is the product actually delivering what the customer wants? As much as possible from a support or service perspective, we want to make sure that the customer knows that we're here. We want to help them. We want to be focused on their business as opposed to our revenue. But that could only take us so far. And so now we've got way more tools at our disposal, as you were describing, for individual people to be building agentic tools on their own, to be thinking about how do I delight my customers. So have you seen any examples, like in the work that you've done recently, whether you've built something yourself or your team's put something together that builds on that trust, that establishes that?
Yeah. And that's really where, my team started with this is, okay, where can we build trust? Where can we satisfy need? I'll give you a simple example. One that it exceeded my expectations of what our customer would respond to it. So one of the first things we built in our team was, I'd say a pretty simple, like interactive version, like a front end version of our tool, right? And so it was an HTML page. built it that had the same look and feel as the tool that our customers were using that they purchased. We seeded it with some basic backend, some data, right? So you could see what it was doing, but it didn't have any engineering behind it. It was just something that we built on our own. And the purpose
Sorry,
of
could I
it,
interrupt?
yeah.
Built in, because I think some people would be interested in this. Built in, what was it? Replit, Lovable, was it?
Honestly, so I built the first version of this. And honestly, I not a deeply technical person. I just went into Claude Code and said, I gave it all the context that I was like, here's what I want to do. Here is the outcome I'm going for. Here's the experience I'm trying to get with our customers, which was I want to be able to take product feedback that they give us. And I want to be able to show them what it would look like in an interactive way, right? In the past, we've done that with like, hey, we talked to our designer and our designer would go into Figma and they would create some static diagrams and then they would create wireframes. And then we'd go back to him several weeks later and go, hey, here's 7 different wireframes that would show them this thing. And the designer had to do it. And I was like, can't. What I wanted to do is, can generative AI help me just create something that I can mess with?
Yes.
To just put that in there.
Yeah.
Doesn't need backend engineering. And so that's what I was trying to do. So I just went in to Claude Code and was like, I'm a novice. Here is what I want. Here is why I want it. I gave it tons of context and just blathered on about why I'm doing this and what I want the experience to be. And I said, help me do this. And I said, let's help me figure out the right way of doing it. And they said, oh, and Claude Code around us was like, okay, do you want to, how deep do you want this to go? And it asked me questions. And I said, I want to go this deep. And then it just kind of asked me a bunch of questions. And I just kind of gave it my feedback of, no, I wanted to do this. No, I just wanted to do this. Yes, I wanted to do that. Do I need data? Yes, I can give you some basic data. How do I know what the workflow is? Great. I can give you, can you give me some video of how it works right now? Great. I'll do that. And then I just sat there and talked to it.
Yeah.
And so what we created was just this really simple front end website that looked and felt like our tool. The fidelity wasn't perfect. It didn't need to be.
Yeah.
Where then when we got feedback, enhancement feedback from our customers, either small stuff like, hey, I would love it if it just this thing kind of did this, or it was like, hold on, I think the navigation ought to go like this.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, our CSMs, and this is the difference, the CSM could go into that artifact and just create the workflow that the customer would ask for.
Yeah.
Right?
On the fly? Just on the fly?
Well, they wouldn't do it with the customer.
Yeah, but close
They'd
enough.
go in afterwards.
Yeah.
But they could do it. This is the point, though. They could do it very easily and they could do it quickly. And so we could go back to the customer like the next day.
Yeah.
And say, hey, did I get this right? And here is where. And so my thought was what I really wanted to get was product feedback quickly. And while I got that, what we gained from our customers was something much different and better. Our customers loved it, mostly, I think, and this is me thinking, because it demonstrated to our customers in a show me, don't tell me kind of way, that we heard them, that we took this seriously. We took what we heard seriously, and I took action. Not just like, hey, I talked to our product team, the product loves it, they're going to come back and talk to you in a month.
Yeah.
Fine,
Yeah.
but no, I took action and I built something.
Yeah.
And I did it right away. Go back to trust. How do you stay human? How do you treat people like people? I heard you. I took that seriously, and I did something about it. And it's that's what the fidelity wasn't the fidelity wasn't fantastic, but they got it.
Yeah.
And then we got great product feedback.
Yeah.
Man, that's exactly right. How fast can you have it? Or we also got the now that I'm looking at it.
Yes.
Not great. And then the customer felt really bought into the roadmap.
Big time.
The product liked it because they didn't have to do that. We brought them into that second call, but they were like, I didn't have to go spend time doing this, right? Yeah. And the CSM loved it. And I know I'm getting a little further down, but the CSM loved it because that's actually real strategic work.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
And they got to go do it. And they got to use the AI, right? And you got to feel like, okay, I just did this cool thing with AI. And this goes back to what's different now than before? Instead of before, you had to be an engineer to do that kind of stuff. Or you had to design, or you had to know Figma. There was a tech barrier to any of us doing that. And now we could do it. And again, I'll say this again, the level of effort that we put into it was here. Mm-hmm. And the customer experience of it was up there.
Yeah. Huge delta. Yeah.
It wasn't, again, what we were doing, listening and advocating and demonstrating. It didn't have to be
Those are all
Super
right.
positive.
Those are trust. That's all trust building. So then the avenue that I would assume you would assume that I would go is revenue. Did this generate at least at least in the short term like leading indicators? Because we know that well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. How did this impact revenue?
Yeah. I cannot draw a direct line between that action and a renewal, and that action and an expansion. One, we were talking about true enterprise level customers, right? And those negotiations, those experiences, there's a long tail to those things. But what I can tell you is that part of the health that I look at as customers is buyer executive level engagement, project manager level engagement. Now that those tools got both of those groups much more bought into the trust they have in our ability to build a product that meets all of their needs. And they saw that we were taking their guidance and building it in there. Not 3 months later when when they actually come out with the product, but like, I just built this. So this is hard, and I think it's hard to build those direct lines, right? It's like you take all the actions that we do as CSMs on a day-to-day basis, right? And you try to try to draw a hard line between any one of those things and the end result, and that's real hard to do. And if someone else can figure out how to do that, please tell me. But I also have a feeling that with generative AI, the product differentiation for all of us is harder and harder and harder to maintain.
Yes.
And so I actually think that even though CSMs are being sort of asked to maybe do more and be more efficient with their jobs, that relationship piece is at all levels, SMB, enterprise, the whole thing, is actually going to be more and more important in the future to demonstrate. Because if software becomes more and more of a commodity, maybe it will, maybe it won't, but if it does, the retention and expansion motions become as much or more dependent on, do they trust you, do they like you, do they want to, or do they know you, do they see that you have their best interest in mind and are acting on it, right?
Yeah.
So those are leading indicators. Yes, I have more executive engagement and those type of things. I have a hard time drawing a hard line on it, but I do fundamentally believe that that's still valuable work.
And you could ask. Like, this is where I very much veer towards in a lot of the work that we've done together is just when you're asking these type of questions like, hey, executive, did you see this thing? We worked on it with your team. Does this make you want to renew more with us as a vendor? And you can ask that question rather than trying to infer it and things like that. Now, they may give you one answer, and then to your point, if these are enterprise level deals, there's many different factors that go into a renewal. But nonetheless, like if you're trying to understand, you know that question that sometimes CS leaders want to ask, which is it your intention to renew if you were asked today? And then like, did this exercise and this interaction improve your intention to renew today? Now, we know we've got a long road to go. We've got months of delivery, and we want to exceed your ROI expectations and such like that. But it could lead to that type of conversation, which if we're talking about leading indicators, there is a very strong correlation to a decision maker saying, it is my intention right now to put them at least in the yellow. It's always reserved green for some really serious green conversations. But nonetheless, like it can facilitate that type of conversation, I think.
And I think you're right. I think too often we just don't ask the direct question. But you're right. And the worst thing they can say is no, right? And then you're like, great.
That's a data point.
It is. Great. What do I do more, right? And they might say, look, everybody's doing this for us. Okay, well, great. Or they say, honestly, nobody else, none of our other vendors have shown us this kind of thing. And then you go, okay.
Yeah.
Now it's different. Now we're differentiated. In addition to the different product differentiation. And now we're differentiated in a different way, right? So that's all data points.
Yeah. And I've got chills over here a little bit because I really like this direction. You can tell how much I like customer success when I get chills talking about this stuff. But the piece that really gets me jazzed up then is like it going back a little bit to what you said earlier, which is now that this is the scenario, like now that I see this feature request that I thought I wanted in action, I don't know if I really like it in this way, or I don't know if I want it anymore. Talk about like weeks or months or a sprint saved on the product side where you were passionate about this feature request from our largest customer or customers, build it, then it rolls out and they never even use it. or they don't even want it anymore. They want something else. So talk about like a cohesive approach to customer-centric delivery. And maybe actually like take us through that part of things. So as you're thinking about as a leader, your ability internally with your fellow executives to be thinking or to be bringing along this customer-centric approach. Is that is this new ammunition, if you will, for you to be thinking in that way?
Yes, and again, back to like, there's in some ways there's nothing new under the sun. Like the customer feedback loop. We've talked about this forever, right? How do we really get good buy-in from customers? What is that customer feedback loop, right? And how do we use that to make informed decisions? We've been having that conversation for decades,
Yeah.
right? Well, this is just another really good data point. That I think what's different now is that we can move faster. We
Yeah.
did this in like 24 hours,
Yeah.
right? That we got this feedback, that we could show it to them. Like 24 hours. And you could actually see it. Like, let me demonstrate the workflow. You can actually viscerally see it.
Yeah.
That is what's different, right? And so now we've got this, we can do it really fast. And so that helps us compress the timetable of how much time we need to do all the requirements gathering and the data points and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which compresses the amount of time it takes us to actually get it out, because maybe it was this big and then we actually realized it's actually what they want is this big.
Yeah.
Cool. So now we have compressed the timeline and we've got AI building stuff faster. Cool.
Yeah.
Right? And so we have now delighted our customers because we took something that used to take, let's call it 3 or 4 months to get out the door, right? Sometimes you could do faster, but let's just say it's 3 or 4 months,
Yeah.
right? For normal, review cycle and process. Now we just got out the door in a month or something.
Yeah.
And that's delighting them,
Yeah.
right? And that's getting
Yeah.
them bought into, I trust you because
Yeah.
you heard me, you took action, and you put something in place.
Yeah.
And it's like we just use the technology to make that customer experience better.
Yes.
But you had the customer in that process. You brought them into using the AI for that.
Yeah.
Right? And again, it didn't.
Yeah.
Again, I think that so much of this is that it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It doesn't have to be polished in a lot of ways, at least the beginning, right? To demonstrate those things that build trust, and customers just really like it. And then you're like, oh, let me give another version of it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you bring them along. And again, that's people like being part of that. People want to be part of that.
So fun. So fun. Delight, trust, expectations, and then drawing that line over time to revenue so that you can correlate some of these leading activities to the lagging results. So exciting. So this has been great, Andrew. Thank you for taking us through kind of your philosophy and the tactics that you're using right now with the example that you worked on recently with your team. So this is all really exciting. I hope the audience was able to gather some pieces from this. Speaking of audience, where can people find more about you or what you're working on or connect with you if they have additional questions?
Like everyone, I'm on LinkedIn. So it's just Andrew Shoaff.
Okay.
And you can look me up and hit me up with a message. And I'm happy I love talking about this stuff. So would love to, talk shop and connect with anybody at any time.
And I can vouch for that. Andrew and I connect monthly or so just to geek out on these things. So anybody else, welcome to join that circle for sure. So Andrew, thank you for joining today. It was a fun conversation. And what's really cool, I think, for me is like to hear how others are thinking about this from, yes, there's a lot of new pieces, but it pulls back to the principles and even back to the deeper principle of connecting with people, which is just a really cool one to operate by. So thank you for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
Right.